Good afternoon, and thank you for joining Conversations for College Success. I would like to thank my current subscribers and new listeners who I hope will become subscribers. Today, I will talk about the interview, which is follow-up to my previous podcast on how to prepare for an interview. What's the purpose of an interview? The purpose of an interview is to determine if you have the skills and experience to be successful in the position that you have applied for with an organization. In addition to the skills and experience, determining if there is a good fit, which means are you compatible with current employees and management. If you make it to 2 or 3 rounds of interviews, you have an opportunity to be offered the position. I say that because interviews are more than the first round. It can be 2, 3, or 4 rounds of interviews. How many different types of interviews are there? There are basically 2 types of interviews. The first is a screening, and the follow-up interviews after the first screening are called selection interviews. In both types of interviews, you will be asked a number of questions. During the screening interviews, you can be called by telephone or via Zoom. It usually lasts for 10 to 15 minutes. Screening interviews can also take place on college campuses, also at career fairs, with very brief interactions lasting 2 to 3 minutes at a career fair, especially if there's a line of students waiting to talk to that particular employer. Screening interviews are used to eliminate candidates that are not qualified. You're being screened for the basic skills and abilities the organization is looking for that position. The organization will also be asking about your salary requirements. Remember, you do not have and have not been offered the position at this time. Therefore, you are not in a position to negotiate. Share that you are willing to work within the salary range. At this time, though, you can ask, what is the salary range? The next step, if you're selected, is called a selection interview. Selection interviews follow the screening interview. Congratulations, because this means you've passed the first round of interviews. You can have 1 or 2 or more additional interviews after the screening or first round. You'll be interviewing with different people. It might be on the same day or on different days. The interviewers can be potential managers, colleagues, and/or upper management. Selection interviews are longer and more thorough and can take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour up to a couple of days, and that's going to be depending on the position level, title, and if a presentation is involved. You could be interviewed by one person or multiple people. Complete a series of one-on-one interviews all in one day or over a couple of days. You could be interviewed by a panel or group of 3 or more people for 45 minutes to an hour. In group interviews, each person will ask you at least one question or more than one question. Selection interviews are used to identify the top 2 to 3 most qualified candidates according to that organization for 1 or 2 additional interviews with higher level management. And it could actually be more than 1 or 2 additional interviews. During selection interviews, sometimes the same exact questions are asked by all of the different interviewers on one day, or most of the interviewers. Other times, different questions are asked by each individual, and other times it's a combination of some of the same questions and new questions by each interviewer. Can you answer the questions effectively? Your homework includes knowing or learning the key skills and experiences the organization is looking for. You will find this information by reading the job description in detail and making sure you understand what the organization is looking for. You must be able to share examples of how you have utilized and/or demonstrated your experience with the skills, abilities, etc., that the organization is looking for. Think about Are there ways that you can stand out from additional training that you have received and or recognition that you have received and will be bringing to the organization? You will need to read, review, and think about all of your experiences with all of your previous employers that is included within your resume in detail. You may also need to update your resume with additional skills that you have obtained. Think about and write down your answers to the following potential interview questions in addition to others. First one usually is, tell me about yourself. Think about, what are employers looking for? Answer, people who have the skills and experiences they are looking for in the job description and know how to share that information succinctly. Additional questions include, what are some of your strengths? You should be able to name 3. Make sure that the key skills that you are naming are skills that they are looking for. What are some of your weaknesses, or what is your greatest weakness? Only name one weakness and make sure that you also share how you are working on improving on that weakness. Why do you want to work here? Meaning for that specific organization. Do your homework and think about the best response. By the way, it is not because the organization is located close to your home. Behavior-based questions start with wording like, tell me about a time. Can you discuss a time when? Describe a situation where. They're looking for, how did you handle this situation in the past, which would demonstrate how you will handle it in the future. If you have not had a situation like that, share, I've not run into that experience. However, this is how I would handle it. So you need to be prepared for those kinds of questions. Also think about, what questions have you been asked in the past? What were your answers? Were they appropriate, or can you answer them better now or improve upon those answers? A few additional and unusual questions that on occasion people are asked: what is your favorite fruit? What is your favorite vegetable? Which superhero would you like to be and why? Although they're not asked often, they are occasionally asked. And what they're looking for is, how do you respond to unusual requests or things that come out of the blue? And that's all they're looking for. There's no right or wrong answers to those particular questions. I would suggest completing at least 2 mock or practice interviews before your actual interview. It gives you a chance to see how you respond. You can let the person critique your response. And if there's some things that you might need to adjust, you have a chance to do that before the actual interview. Reminder, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to email me at conversationsforcollegesuccess@hotmail.com. Thank you again to my subscribers and to new listeners who I hope will become subscribers. Talk with you again next Wednesday. Bye-bye.